So it's a $15,000 project.
If I was doing this alone, I don't think I would be here right now with this client. I had all these people hitting me up from Google, Coinbase, Microsoft.
Right, Argenis, can you tell me which results you got working with us inside of the accelerator?
Yeah. So back in the day when I jumped in November, I wasn't really familiar with all the AI technologies out there today. And I think joining the accelerator helped expose me to all those tools and technologies. And it got me, part of the accelerator was to build in public. We were talking a lot about that, posting our projects. And I remember having some pretty good strategies that you implemented, like from reaching out to recruiters, just getting on that daily mindset. Also using the Loom video strategy, which was really, really good. And so using some of the strategies that you guys like were promoting helped me put myself out there. Like it gave me that fire to push myself because truth be told, if I wasn't part of that community, I don't think I would have done it at that level. And so that accountability aspect is there. You know, you feel like you don't want to let your team down, and so that was big for me right there where I was at.
And you recently landed a paid project, right?
Yep.
Can you tell me more about it?
So I did a hackathon locally, and this is I do recommend that people look into these. And so this hackathon, we ended up winning second place. It was for Harvard University, and it was an AI hackathon. Um, Ironically, we won the fintech track due to the sponsor being a fintech advocate. I think we were really trying to help him out, and so we got a second place globally. And as I was posting all the content, sharing my journey, I think some people noticed. And then shortly after, someone reached out to me wanting to meet. Right. And so what I did was I said, okay, let's talk. I was taking anybody I could just to have a conversation. And I consulted them. To be honest, this is maybe something that a lot of people don't understand. When you're forming relationships, especially like, independent contract, you can't get to the money right away. You know, I consulted these people for about 5 to 6 hours of my time, where we met maybe for 2, 3 weeks. Like, hey, you want to meet today? Hey, next week, let's pick up, Saturday. I'm taking my Saturdays off. These are my days, but
Mm.
I was consulting them. I didn't time anything, right? I just gave them as much honest advice as I could, how I would approach things. And they built the confidence. And then on the fourth meeting, I said, look, I think I have an idea of what you guys want. And I'm happy to work with you guys, but I have to have an idea of what your budget is because something like this, like this is going to take me maybe I was being realistic 3 to 6 months, and I want to help you guys, but
Yeah.
I can't start developing for free, right?
So just for context, these people, you attended a hackathon, you
Yeah.
build a project, you're posting about it on which platform? LinkedIn, X?
I honestly recommend LinkedIn because LinkedIn is full of professionals, and Twitter gets too politically, people want to challenge each other too much egos.
Yeah, LinkedIn
Although,
is a great platform because LinkedIn you get a
yeah,
lot
like
of organic reach as well. Like if you post something,
exactly.
it's much easier to get likes and comments and visibility, like impressions on LinkedIn rather than on X. And so those people,
Yep.
they saw your posts. Who were they? Were they already in your network? Do you know them? Were they like
Um,
strangers?
I think if I'm not mistaken, she reached out to me by adding me, and then let me check the top. I think maybe she messaged me, and then she said, "Hey, I saw that you did something for John Wingate, who was the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the event, and he runs a blockchain. And so he's also someone who works in fintech. So my clients actually work for Fortune 500 companies. So
Mm,
one works for Visa, the other one works for Citi. And so, I immediately I took a professional tone. I said,
mm.
"Yep, yep." She said, "I would love to speak to you about building something for my startup, right?" And I said, "Cool, I'm up for whatever. Okay, let's set up a meeting around 4 o'clock. What works for you? We're both on Eastern time. Okay, cool." I set the meeting up, and then after speaking to her, I sent a follow up
Yeah,
message. I had a really lovely conversation, and I would love to continue, chatting about this.
got it. So they were basically individuals who wanted to build their company. They reached out to you. They saw that you had the skills because of what you're posting on LinkedIn. And then the discussion started around like building this app together, right? Where they hire you as a freelancer to build this app for them.
Yep. And honestly, the first few conversations, like the first two, we didn't really like. I was still kind of like, I hope like this is all going somewhere.
Mm,
But I think sometimes, like, when you're hunting for opportunity, you can't get to the money right away. You first need to identify the problem,
mm,
right? And then when we were having our conversations, I was very everything they asked me, I was able to answer, and had
mm.
kind of like an answer for them. And so I think
Basically, you
that's
want to
really
build
important.
trust, right? You want to
Yeah,
showcase that you have the skills to deliver on what they want. You want them to be comfortable, to feel safe, right? That if they give you money and they give you this project, you're gonna deliver on it. Yeah.
exactly. That's more important than asking for the money. And
Mm,
then when I started talking to them around the third meeting, I started to give them an idea of what the project would cost. I said, this is what they're asking for. Essentially, it's like a five-figure amount, right? I didn't give them a definite number, but I kind of said, this is where you're thinking. And then, I said, okay, something like this, I asked some of my people over here, this could be quoted at somewhere, around 50K, but their budget wasn't 50K, right? So I said,
mm,
all right, well, next meeting, like we could talk about that. And then they sent me their budget, which in the channel I shared, it was
mm,
15,000. Um, and this is between two people, right?
mm,
So, and then I came up with a plan where I said, are you guys able to do, like a retainer before any development gets started? And then,
mm.
some kind of monthly payout.
Yeah, where they give you an initial deposit to kickstart the
Hmm.
project, and then every month they basically pay you to develop it. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Mm. How did you feel when you landed that project?
Man, it's a tough market right now. And I think a lot of people say it's an employer's market, but there's still money out here. I truly believe it because, I think everybody just needs to start getting creative, posting publicly about your journey and getting involved everywhere. Um, I think that's big nowadays.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true. How has your mindset changed actually when you started this journey? Let's say you a few months ago before you joined the accelerator, you now, what would you say was like a shift in your mindset?
I think, like I said, just I could have been a lone wolf, right? But I've been doing this coding thing for a while, and I think when I came back and I got with you, I said, okay, here's a senior engineer who's genuinely trying to help us land roles, right? And I mean, your proposal was really good when we spoke, so I said, all right, I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna just take this shot because I know what it's like out here. And then I think shortly after, I just kept listening to the process, just following, just did all the homework. Um, Started learning some of the stuff that I didn't know, like RAG was really important. Started learning about posting in public and kind of some of the strategies you have. And then I started to like, okay, let me think a little bit more outside the box, right? That's when I said, let me join some local hackathons as well while I'm still, in this accelerator, posting some of my where I'm at with things. And even posting some content on my YouTube, right? Just kind of trying to show people along the journey, trying to post where I'm at in things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
it's when you put
yeah.
yourself out there, that's how you create opportunities for yourself, right? Like a lot of people right now, they spend a lot of time and hours of effort like building projects, doing things, but no one will ever know that they're doing those things because they don't put it out there. They don't post it anywhere. And imagine you spend like a whole weekend building a project, you put it on your resume. No one might ever see that you have it on your resume, right? People might
Hmm.
not even know that you have something like this, right? Same thing is maybe you have the skills like this project that you got. Imagine if you attend this hackathon, but you didn't post about it, like you'd miss
Hmm.
out on 15K project. And
Yeah.
there's more things like this, like people they don't realize how many things they miss out because just literally no one knows that you have the skills, no one knows that you can deliver. And that's like one big reason why you don't have opportunities. By putting yourself out there, you maximize the chances. It's all probabilities, right? The more you put
Hmm.
yourself out there, the more you increase the chances of being lucky and getting those opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
I think the mentorship is great. I'm not gonna lie. I think, like I said, if I was doing this alone, I don't think I would be here right now with this client because I don't think I would have taken those chances. I would have just kind of, like I said, in some tutorial hell that's maybe not leading me, but you had a lot of actionable strategies that helped out quite a bit.
Did you take some other courses before? I'm just curious, like before joining this accelerator, you had like some Udemy course or some other coaching programs?
Yeah, I took some Udemy courses pre-pandemic. I was doing iOS development. I did some web development as like freelance.
Mm.
When you're doing websites, you're not making nearly as much. And I worked with a couple startups when I was in Miami, a Web3 nonprofit startup. I'm actually still working with them. We're looking to launch something in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an NFT project that we're trying to, bring people on board. And I've been working with these guys for like 3, 4 years. And I worked with an AI startup that got seeded. And so I was really good friends with the co-founder, and we were living and working together for about 3 to 6 months. After that ended, I ended up working with a fintech startup, more in the finance side of things. And after that, I believe I just kind of took a pause on development. I did some local boot camp. I took a really bootstrap way to software engineering. I didn't go to get no CS degree. Yeah,
Mm. Got it. So you
yeah.
did a few boot camps, a few online courses. What made you
Yeah.
want to join this accelerator?
Like I said, I think when I moved back, I moved out of Miami right 2 weeks before we spoke. And I moved back to Boston, and I was just like, all right, let's give software engineering, let's go full force. And
Mm,
then you came with a really act like when we spoke, I think you gave me a good proposition. You were like, hey man, we'll get you a job, or like you had the money back policy. And I was like, all right, then I got nothing to lose here. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna
mm,
take my shot. I could, and I had people message me. They were really like, hey, I don't know, like you think, and I'm like, bro, what are you gonna lose? Like, like
mm,
just give it a shot. Like at the end of the day, if you take action, and I have some of the messages, I'm like, if you just take action,
mm.
um, you just try it. You gotta try
Yeah.
it and see what
Yeah.
happens. Um, and I like the whole weekly meetups that you also had, those on
Mm,
Saturdays where we're able to ask questions and stuff like that. I think that helps out a lot just to give you something to go on every week. Yeah, I
mm,
mean that I think that's really it. It's just, like I think
mm,
you got to take action, and then you were in a position where I wanted to be in. So I have this thing where I'm like I'm not afraid of spending money for education because I think that's good money spent. And I think when you have people who are in a position where you would like to be in, I think the best thing you could do is try to shadow and learn as much as you can from those people.
mm. Yeah, it's like you invest in yourself essentially. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Did you have any concerns before joining? Like what were your main concerns?
Well, to be honest, I mean, there was like, is this gonna work? Right? Like, I don't know. I'm taking a big risk here. Like, I'm not in the best financial position. I was already kind of in a little bit of debt. So I was like, damn, man, like I hope this works. But I think I was like, you know what? I have nothing but time regardless. Let me just give this a shot, and regardless, out of this, I end up having some connections. There's a lot of cool people in the community. Even Donovan landed a paid project. I think the first 2, 3 weeks, somebody landed a paid a job. Um, and so there was a lot of talented developers in the community talking about what they're building, and I think everybody genuinely was trying to help each other out. And so
Mm.
that
Yeah, yeah, that's the
accountability
goal.
was,
For me, the main value is the community. Like there
yeah.
is the curriculum and the resources and everything, but the community is really like when you can engage with other people who are on the same path as you help each other, and there's more chances to succeed when you're like that with other people. Who would you
Mhm.
recommend this accelerator to? Who do you think is like would be someone who would like benefit from it?
I think any developer out there who's not on this AI like is missing out. I didn't have that exposure when I jumped in. I just knew how to build, like UIs, plug them to a back end, but I was missing that AI piece. And ever since like we jumped into this program, I'm now seeing more opportunities. There's a lot of companies, startups building in this AI space. And I think the fact that we're AI focused is part of the reason why I even joined that boot camp, right? It was an AI boot camp. I mean, it was an AI hackathon, sorry, hackathon. But they had a couple fintech tracks. And it just so happened to be that we built something out on that side, but it landed to the paid opportunity again.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
exposing
exactly.
yourself
You
to these
never
tech.
know. Yeah, yeah. It's like when you make posts, right? Like I really encourage people all the time. Like when you build a project, just make a bunch of posts about it. Not just one post on LinkedIn, but a lot of them, because you never know which post is going to be seen by whom, right? Like you might post one thing, you think, oh, okay, this is just another post about the same project I'm doing, but that post in particular can be seen by like a founder of some startup, and he might like it. He reaches out to you, and then some opportunity can come from it. That's how those things work. What would you
Actually,
recommend to someone? Go ahead.
I wanted to just add before we jump into the next one. So I started the accelerator, lone wolf, right? Didn't know anything about AI. I also made that post, like kind of jokingly, like with the bounty, right? Of having someone help me find a job, which went viral.
Mm.
And I didn't expect that. Like, and then I
That post went
actually,
mega viral, right? Like, how many
yeah,
impressions did it get? Like, one of the million
my
people saw
post
it.
it actually went off to Twitter, and then big
Yeah.
influencers on Twitter started sharing
Wow.
it, and so it got like millions of views on Twitter as well.
Damn,
And so I
insane.
had all these people hitting me up from Google,
Wow.
Coinbase, Microsoft, like senior
Yeah.
engineers, recruiters from Adobe, like all these big
Wow.
companies hitting me up. And actually, yesterday I did an interview with Business Insider. I didn't talk about this, but the people from Business Insider reached out to me
Mm.
liking this idea of like reverse recruiting. And
Yeah.
like I'm sure now you're starting to see on LinkedIn people be like, hey, a
I've
$10,000 to
seen
find me
after
the
you
next
made that
engineer.
post. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people do it. Yeah, you started like a new trend.
So that was pretty funny, and I think again, like I wouldn't have taken these chances on myself without some kind of accountability, you know.
Mm. Awesome. Just final question is, what would you recommend to someone who is interested to join the accelerator but is on the fence?
You got nothing to lose. I'm telling you, community is everything nowadays. Mentorship is really, really important in every aspect. You can dig by yourself or you can dig with a team, and I think that's what you've provided is a great team of people, same journey, same mission. Everybody wants to genuinely see each other succeed, um, and yeah, there's a lot to learn. Honestly, AI is here, and if you don't know it, you got to get on it because it's not going anywhere.
Awesome. Awesome. Argenis, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Congratulations again on landing that $15,000 project. Amazing.
Thank you, man.
Hopefully
It
there'll
wouldn't
be
have been
more to
without you,
come.
man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.